Hey, what's up, you guys? How you doing today? YouTube was hating on me and wouldn't let me go live, but I have my live privilege back. So sorry about that wait. You guys come in here, sit down, and shut the door because this is bad. This is a bombshell, and you guys, it honestly looks like, okay? It honestly looks like, baby, the jurors actually might be in trouble. You guys, what am I talking about? You know, this had to be big because this dragged me out the pool. This dragged me out the pool, but we need to talk about this. First of all, I talked to my coworkers. If you guys don't know, I work for the FBI branch of YouTube. Here is my employee ID. I talked to my coworkers and they said, listen, get up, because the juror that has been going on spouting their mouth is under investigation. Now, we're going to talk about what that means. We're going to talk about what he's under investigation for. We're going to talk about the gross misconduct that he accidentally admitted. And we're also going to talk about Matthew from Inner City Press. Shout out to the investigator of the investigators that actually broke this down. He has contacted the UN. I have contacted the UN. We need answers. And we're also going to talk about what this means for the Diddy verdict. Now, spoiler alert, because Diddy was found not guilty for 3 of those charges, double jeopardy, he cannot be tried again for those charges, even if they found out the jury lied. Even if they found out that the jury, according to this one juror, completely defied the judge's expectations. Even if we find out all that stuff, right? He still got off not guilty, double jeopardy. Ugh. Oh yeah, you guys, don't forget we still have merch. We have mugs, teas, peas, potatoes, you name it. We got everything, okay? Click the merch store. But let's get into this. Now, a lot of people were hoping, including myself, that whatever this investigation yields, that maybe those not guilty verdicts. Of course, we all had high school civics class. It's double jeopardy. It's not guilty. It's not going to go on. Under the double jeopardy clause of the Fifth Amendment, he cannot be tried for the same crime. Even if the jurors seemingly admitted to breaking the rules, even if jurors admitted they misunderstood the law, and even if new evidence appears proving he was guilty, they gave a not guilty or a final verdict. It's constitutional law. Now, I actually think that the verdicts jury gave him not guilty on that on purpose, because I don't think they wanted anybody else. I think they were starstruck, and I think they wanted to find him innocent. Okay. However, if the jurors violated the rules, and we're going to get into that and the investigations that have yielded and what they're under, they talked early. Let's just say there's no proof that they took bribes, but let's just say they took bribes. There is evidence that they talked and deliberated before the sentencing, and the judge told them not to. Why is that important? It would explain how they went into a room. Okay? It would explain how they went into a room and had all this evidence, and in less than 14 hours came back with a guilty verdict. It was a a not guilty verdict, okay? Even if proven, the verdict still stands. No mistrial can be declared retroactively, and no appeal can undo the acquittal. The only consequences, and this is why they're under investigation and they're looking into it. Again, you guys, when I say, okay, my coworkers woke me up early this morning, I'm just joking. But I do work for the FBI branch of YouTube. Here's my employee ID. For everybody saying that you guys want shirts, we are looking on shirts being made of that. I think that's actually cool. You can be a Fed witness too. You can be fed. You can be fed. You can be fed. Okay. Anyway, the jurors might be investigated, fined, or banned from future jury duty. Even though the whole ban from future jury duty, I think the jurors are like, don't threaten me with a good time. Again, the judge might publicly condemn the misconduct, but again, you guys keep in mind, Diddy will not be tried again for those 3 charges, okay? Now, the feds can charge him again under different charges only if it's a different crime, such as obstruction of justice, tax fraud, or human trafficking, or under federal jurisdiction, different cases of human trafficking, okay? Not Cassie and not Jane. And if or under federal jurisdiction if the first case was state level, okay? But not for the same alleged acts under the same law, okay? The DOJ cannot retry him for the exact same charges under the same statute. That is double jeopardy, okay? However, civil lawsuits are still fair game. Okay, so we got that out the way. I know everybody's wondering. Now let's talk about what the jurors are under investigation for. Because baby, where's my mouse? You are not going to believe this. And again, I had to run in here. I was literally floating in the pool, minding my business, having a good old time. And this came across my timeline. I said, no. And you know what the funny thing is? I had made, I'm going to post it later, but I had made a story about this earlier. I had made a story about this earlier in the day that I was going to post about what was that, a feather? The hell? About what was going on. Where did the feather come from? Okay, so anyway, right? Let's get into this. Where are we? Turn your, hold on. Let me stop this real quick and make sure the housekeepers are cleaning. I hope you guys. Hold on, you guys. Hold on. Let's go. Jamie said, not you turning into a bird, baby. I'm already a fed. Don't you know? Can be whatever I want to be in this world. Okay. First of all, let's turn on the juror thing. 1 second. Juror. Let's do. Okay. Can you guys hear it? Okay. Okay. Put a 1 if you can hear his talking. Hold on. Can you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? Yes or no? Okay, you heard it. Okay, let's rewind. Okay, so first of all, I like to give credit where credit is due. The person that started this whole investigation, okay, is Matthew from the Inner City Press. Subscribe to his Substack. Follow him on Blue Sky or Twitter. This man has been doing the Lord's work. As you guys know, the Southern District of New York doesn't allow cameras in, okay? And you're not allowed to record anything. You can't bring your phone. You have to check it. Matthew covers every single case in the courthouse. He runs from courtroom to courtroom. He can he lets us know what's happening. As a matter of fact, during the voir dire, we closely followed him, and he inspired us to come out and actually bear witness in the courtroom. So make sure y'all follow him. He also has a Substack. So this is what he posted. The time UN counterterrorism officer George said the prosecution showed a video of Cassie sitting around, then immediately said it was defense that showed her. After being told, the defense also spoke on Don Richard and other journalists' alternate. Now, listen, he posted this one a while back, and it literally was to drag the juror because you can just see how dumb the jurors were. They showed a video of Cassie just sitting around. Now, I could say to the prosecution, why didn't y'all show some of the freak off tapes to counteract? Because the fact that you see people sitting around, you somehow think they're not being trafficked. You somehow think they're not abused. Baby, even war, the bombs are not dropping every single day. It's very ignorant, but that's not the point. Let's just get past this. Listen to what this man has to say, and then we're going to get into the receipts. And just to let you know, I have also emailed his supposed place of work because y'all, not only does it look like the jury that this guy lied to get on the jury, right? It also looks like there was gross juror misconduct, and this is coming out of his own mouth. Also, I just want to let you guys know, I have a little side story for this guy, because this guy, if I can show it, would come in all the time like a peacock. And this guy would walk in like a peacock, and he would stand there. All the other jurors were looking straight. He would look at the audience like it was his time to shine. He loved the attention. He seemed very, very thirsty. He wanted to be seen. He wanted to be known. He just seemed very, very thirsty. So keep that in mind as we listen to this. So listen. Wait, what happened? Okay, here we go.
Unanimously, we kind of all said, like, wow, like, it was
Okay, so if you guys don't know, This is Inner City Press. Follow him, Matthew Russell Lee. He's on it. All right. Follow Inner City Press. I will say one thing. Inner City Press truly gives non-biased coverage. If you give your opinion, right? He just says what happens. He doesn't give his opinion. He just says, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. He has to condense it because he can't put everything like the transcripts. But to me, that is non-biased. Anytime you weigh in and put your finger on the scale, well, actually, everybody's non-biased unless you just don't say at all what happened. But let's keep going. Who cares? Let's move on. All right. So Matthew posted this, and I'm like, what is Matthew talking about this early in the morning? Okay. But he brought up some interesting things. This guy said that he worked for the UN. Matthew uncovered evidence that he has a real estate firm and that he might have been lying about working for the UN and gotten fired. But he said he worked for the UN during the voir dire. All right. Now, he called the UN and he said the UN won't answer on UNOCT Diddy alternate juror as U.S. bans Inner City Press, okay, with no reply. Now, when I heard Inner City Press got banned, I jumped in and said, let me email the UN. I did email the UN. I don't know because it's emailing governments whether you can actually share the emails because sometimes we're very strict about that. With the new administration, I did not want to tempt fate, but I have an email in also. But you guys, don't worry. It's getting deeper. Hold on. Let's just get into this. Now, True in it on Twitter said, U.S. Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, Rule 24C for alternate jurors. Each alternate juror must be informed of their status when selected and must have the same qualifications and be subject to the same examination and challenges as regular jurors, okay? So this guy already off the bat lied and said he didn't know he was an alternate juror. Of course he knew he was an alternate juror. The public wasn't supposed to know. But that said, he must be subject to the same qualifications and subject to the same examination and challenges as the regular jurors. What does that mean? That means that the same way juror number 6 got dismissed for there being something weird about where he lives, where he stays, and what happens. Even though that happens, okay? Even that should have been with the alternate juror. You're not allowed to lie about your job. You're not allowed to lie where you live, about where you live. And if you are proven that you lied, you must be thrown off the jury, even as an alternate, okay? Now, we're not just talking about the alternate jury because the alternate juror told us something about the actual jury, okay? It comes into this. So Matthew said, thanks for posting the rule. Also, jurors and then alternates in this case were clearly told their role, which one they were, and their number, whether they were alternate or not, before opening statements. So you and George telling CNN he didn't know until the end, well, they're awaiting the UN spokesperson reply. Because again, Matthew did some investigation and apparently this guy might not even work for the UN because when you work for the UN, you're not allowed, I think, to moonlight at other jobs. So, somebody said, thanks for your tireless work, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. Matthew said, no problem. For those critical of reporting on the alternate juror who told CNN he didn't know until the end that he was an alternative, I noted that during voir dire, his claim that the UN counterterrorism unit does not work with U.S. law enforcement was dubious at best. He's following up on that. Now, if you guys don't know, I'm giving you guys the background so we can actually get into the meat of it, right? So he said that he worked for the UN counterterrorism, and now it looks like he lied about working for UN. And if he did work whatever it is, he got fired. He also said that the U.S. counterterrorism does not work with U.S. law enforcement, which maybe you can't call that a lie, but like Matthew said, it's dubious at best because of course counterterrorism works with U.S. law enforcement, like the FBI, like state and local police. Of course they do, okay? It's part of their job description, but let's get into this. Okay, Now, somebody said, I wish CNN had followed up with the juror when he said everyone agreed about Richard's cross. As you said, they weren't supposed to be discussing the case. And here comes the meat of it. Matthew said exactly. And did you notice that George said that the prosecution's video selection showed Cassie sitting around? Then he was asked, do you mean the defense? And he said, yeah, the defense. Also, he knew from J1 he was an alternate juror. Anyway, Matthew is just like, he has a bone to pick with the UN because apparently the UN banned him for his reporting, okay? Now, again, why is that so important? Because, let me get comfortable. Because for a number of things. One, if you guys have been following my live, I've been reporting from day one that I saw the jury, and a lot of other news reporters saw it too, okay? People in media, content creators, that the juror were keying and talking about themselves. When did it reach max capacity? When Brian still passed around those binders, and the prosecution said, yeah, you can pass the binders. As they passed the binders, they sat there and were talking about the binders among themselves. Now, at that point, if I was the prosecution, I feel like they were too easy on this jury. I'd have been like, no, get them out of here. I want a mistrial. We need a new jury. They were talking back and forth to themselves. The judge told them, you are not allowed to discuss this case. You are not to discuss anything you have heard and said until deliberations. However, what I witnessed in the courtroom, and if you've been watching my lives, you know I talked about it, the jurors were talking back and forth. When Mia was cross-examined by, I don't know if it was Brian or Westmoreland, I forget. When she was cross-examined, one of the jurors turned around and looked at a juror in the second row. First, they were talking to the juror next to them, right? Like, right? And then they turned around to the second jury like, oh, while the defense was cross-examining, trying to expose him as being a liar, even though it was just fanfare. But again, I don't think that jury was that smart, right? They turned around and, right, mouthed it, they're lying. And the other juror said, I told you. I told you. They were literally reacting as the defense was ripping apart witnesses, looking at each other. You see this? I told you. She's lying, doing all this stuff. They were talking about, they were smiling at the other lawyers. Diddy's defense team, like, laughing at their jokes, smiling, kicking, getting a report. When Diddy was nodding at the jurors, the jurors were, the jurors were there. I talked about this plenty of times in my life. I even shared what jurors I was actually concerned about. Now, I rolled it back and I didn't give this much detail then. In future lives, because somebody told me during the trial it's actually illegal or an issue, or I might get kicked out of the courtroom for literally giving too much details about the jurors. And since Diddy team was trying to get me kicked out of the courtroom the whole time, I can now say why. However, what did this juror say on CNN? We have the video that a lot of people skipped over and that Matthew actually caught, right? And that a lot of us have been saying. This was an alternate juror, okay? You were not allowed to deliberate with the jurors or talk. So how can you say, and I repeat, how can you say that, how could the juror say that they were discussing the case when the judge told them every morning, noon, night, breakfast, lunch, dinner, had this been brought to the prosecution's attention, they could have ruled for a mistrial. That was level one. But this would explain why the jurors only took 14 hours to review all that evidence, because most of them had made up their minds because they had been talking beforehand. Now, I will say, right, either the alternate juror lied, the alternate juror lied to CNN and lied about discussing it, or the juror was discussing the case when the judge told them every day, morning, noon, and night, lunch and breaks, and even bathroom breaks, not to discuss the case. Not to discuss the case. Now, again, sadly enough, we're getting this information too late. There's no way due to double jeopardy that even if the jurors had came in and every day been like, I don't care what they say, Diddy innocent. It is too late now to get any type of appeal or overruling. That will be double jeopardy for those 3 charges. That would be double jeopardy. However, there is the obstruction charge. There is the firearm charge. There is all these things that can go into either new charges being brought up, or they're giving them to the judge so that the judge can give Diddy a higher sentence, which they think that Diddy's going to do time served in maybe a year. Who knows at this point? Because Diddy's lawyers are too effective. Not because I think he's innocent, just because lawyers are too effective. But it does look like, okay, it does actually look like the judge might actually sentence him closer to something with 10 years. I am praying for it. You guys know I think Diddy is guilty. I think his money bought this out this. I think the slime people that literally don't think that domestic violence and violence is a big deal. But y'all already know my thoughts on that. If you don't, watch my live Tissa Breaks Her Silence. It's really good. I give a lot of inside tea as to what happened and a lot of background. Okay. Now, listen. Thanks. As I live tweeted, so somebody said, great job calling out this George, the alternate juror's BS, and keeping your readings on farm. His BS story is making the media rounds on both CNN and USA Today. CNN should be ashamed for giving that man airtime. Again, ashamed, or at the end of the day, I feel like the whole jury was on this time. I think that they did not understand the law. I think they wanted to let Diddy off. I think they felt, which is the right, that a man does not deserve to be convicted of RICO when his only crime was using, abusing, drugging, and beating his significant other, right? Now, if they had just been a girl that they found off the street, even if they had showed her laughing and joking, they still would have gotten her. Also, you guys, we have merch. Let me fill up my little mug. This is my new obsession, Beachy Mint. This is my new obsession. I'm trying to do my best to stay hydrated, right? Drink my water, and I always do. Mind my business. That pays me, but you know. I lost the straw that goes to this because I lose all straws, so I just had to buy another glass straw. Anyway, but that was my fault. I left it in someone's car and it got returned to me. The straw was missing. Anyway, let's get into this, right? Matthew said, thanks. As I live tweeted jury selection, Georgia's 2-day claim that his UN Office of Counterterrorism doesn't work with U.S. law enforcement jumped out to me because I report on the UN as well and knew that claim to be false. Then I saw his pitch on CNN. That is all. It gets deeper. I'm going to take you guys through the whole live thread. It's not that long. And then I'm going to tell you the information I know, right? Because my bosses, my coworkers, because I work for the FBI branch of YouTube, here's my employee ID, my coworkers told me so, okay? Ori Zain Malik said, interesting that the UN has long been involved in covering up sexual assault. They had to say Maxwell in there frequently, and then this alternate juror is working for them and lies about his connection to law enforcement. Inner City Press said, I just emailed the UN spokesperson a series of questions about this UN Office of Counterterrorism alternate juror, including to confirm or deny his answer that the UN Office of Counterterrorism never works with U.S. law enforcement, and about his seemingly moonlighting in yet another job. Again, it gets deep. Now, this is true what Ori Zain says. The UN has long been involved in covering up sexual assault. Okay? Long been involved. Or being like this. It's funny that an alternate juror that claimed to work for the UN, but nobody can really find any evidence or who, what, how. At the very least, it looked like he was being dishonest, was there. And they were having talks with the jury, defying judges' orders and defying court orders and federal rules of civil procedure. And they were having questions, things, and deliberating deliberating before the judge told them to do that. Now, again, this would explain how they came back with a verdict of not guilty, pouring through all the information so quick. How did 12 people who shouldn't have been talking about this enter into a room and then come out with like, yeah, again, I don't think this juror is lying. I think he accidentally slipped up and told us what was going on in the jury room. They had their minds made up and it was gross misconduct, right? Listen, somebody else said, remember, George probably does not, it's a big office with lots of positions. However, the State Department does work with the FBI. So I don't know why the judge let him in. To be honest, I do not think he even wanted to be on the jury. That is a lie. I saw this man. He would come in every day, walking in. And when they told the jury to take his seats, he would stand. So say you guys are the public. He would stand there an extra 2 seconds and look out and take it all in. And look out and take it all in. Like literally, I thought he was listening to, I wish that I could have this moment for life. For life. He literally was taking it all in. He was thirsty. He wanted the fame. He wanted the position, right? Inner City Press said, what's UN supposed to answer for one? Whether it's UN Office of Counterterrorism works with U.S. law enforcement or not. As alternate juror, George twice claimed in voir dire to get on the jury. Shouldn't the spokesperson answer how the UN uses U.S. tax dollars? Again, they also don't want to answer because it's going to prove that this guy shouldn't have been on the jury and that he lied to get on the jury. Again, the UN is refusing to answer. I don't want to get all conspiracy theory, but he should have never been there. And this guy was thirsty. For anybody saying he didn't want jury, this was a man that was soaking it all in. He wanted to be on that jury badly. He was looked like he was enjoying every single minute. Okay. So then Inner City Press spoke about human rights. He said, U.S. v. Sean Combs' alternative, George of UN Office of Counterterrorism, was the point of contact for the UN's high-level international conference on human rights. So this man that looked at the video and told us, and this is scary, told us Cassie was just sitting around in those tapes. It looked pretty tame. Like, what are you talking about? There's no big deal. He claims to be the point of contact for the UN's high-level international conference on human rights. Yeah, the UN is now refusing to actually answer anybody back. My email has been with them for about 3 hours. I have not received any answer back on it. Answer back, right? Listen. He was paid with tax dollars. He receives a high UN salary every day while refusing to be a spokesperson, refusing to answer straightforward questions emailed by the Inner City Press. Okay, so I think he's talking about the spokesperson now. Hold on. He also said in U.S. v. Combs, the judge told the jurors and alternates at each break, don't speak with each other about the case. UN alternate George did not deliberate, okay? When I say deliberate, that means that when you deliberate, you go back into the deliberation chambers, okay? That's where they talk. So the fact that he is on CNN talking about what the jury felt, we all saw Westmoreland destroyed, we all agreed. The fact that he's talking about all these conversations he had with the jury, that means, and because he was an alternate and he was not invited back into the deliberation room, that means, what does that mean? It means that they were talking about this as the trial went on. They had their minds made up. They had their minds made up. I wonder if the feds wish to God, when they first came out and said they couldn't decide on the RICO, I wonder if the feds wished to God that they had been like, all right, well, never mind. You don't have to decide about the RICO, and just let them go, because at least then they could have gotten a new trial, because the jury would have been hung on count 1, but decided counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? He went on to say, I say unequivocally that the UN office interacts and works with U.S. law enforcement, which George denied twice in order to get on the jury. Again, This guy shouldn't have been on the jury. The UN regularly covers up sexual assault. I'm sure they banned Matthew because he was covering on a case and was letting information out that they didn't want out. Again, you guys, if you were just joining me, my name is Tissa. I work for the feds. If you guys don't know, here's my employee ID. My name is Tissa. I came out of the pool to give you guys the tea. One of the jurors has admitted to gross misconduct, and they are under investigation. Now, before you get your hopes up, under double jeopardy, there's no way to overrule or appeal their ruling for those 3 not guilties with Diddy. However, this could be grounds if they wanted to. This could be grounds if they wanted to. And this is the scary part, that Diddy's team could actually use this as grounds to appeal the last 2 rulings. Again, I'm beginning to think in the Diddy case, nothing happens by accident. And the fact that he's saying that there was gross juror misconduct and that they had been deliberating and talking about this prior to the end of the trial, that is enough for the Diddy side to go in and try to appeal the rulings for the Mann Act and try to get those either overturned or to get a new trial on them. And don't think Diddy isn't looking at this or thinking, hell, I know Diddy's team watches my lives. Ain't nobody got to take them any tea about me. They watch my lives. But my whole point of the matter is this is very serious and it is very grave. Again, I find it really funny that that guy came out on, and he may work for the UN, he may not, but he seems very, very starstruck over Diddy. Okay. He seems very starstruck over Diddy. Again, this is not good for anybody. Oh, also, Virginia Martinez said RICO charges were proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That is true. A classmate from law school had discussions that the jury couldn't have followed instructions. I don't think they followed instructions at all. Also, Jasmine Rivas said, Diddy, Mayor Adams, the key to the city. George, the UN building is housed in New York. This doesn't mean anything. Exactly. This means nothing. Just a series of unfortunate events. Just a series of unfortunate events. Also, DL Low Design. D-Lo Design, thank you so much for the super chat. And Harrison, thank you for the super chat. Jasmine, thank you. And Jasmine, Yisman, is it Jasmine or Yisman? Welcome to the Tattletales family. Okay. Where are we also? So in any case, listen, in the US v. Combs, the judge told the jurors every single day and on every break, don't speak with each other about the case. UN alternative George, who did not deliberate, why does that mean something? Because you're not supposed to talk about the case before deliberation. This is federal rules. The fact that he went on CNN and said they discussed it a lot. They all thought this, they thought that about what's more. He had details of what they thought about everybody. The fact that you knew what everybody else was thinking and you said they had conversation, that shows that you violated. You guys, this is serious. This is grounds for Diddy to appeal, right? Or at the very least, this is grounds for what could happen to the jurors. Let me get into this. I actually looked into what could happen to the jurors, okay? If this is discovered before the verdict was rendered, which would have been nice, it's a huge deal. The judge can dismiss jurors, declare a mistrial, or even remove the entire jury. If it's called after a guilty verdict, it could be grounds for appeal for a new trial. Now, I do want to know this. How did they talk about it? Well, I know the bailiff in that court. His name is Anthony. He runs a no-nonsense court. There is no way that the bailiffs actually saw them seeing and discussing everything. So it leads you to say, when did they have time to talk about this? Were they calling each other? Was there a group chat? Were they talking outside the courtroom? Were they talking in lunch? When were they talking? And why did it not come to the court's attention that they were talking? It makes me think that they were sneaking around talking and having secret discussions maybe. Again, right? If it's called after a guilty verdict, it could be grounds for appeal or a new trial. Again, they found Diddy guilty of 2 things, all right? So this is not good. Can there be investigation or punishment? Yes. Jurors can be investigated or punished. They can get contempt of court, civil fines, or even jail time in extreme misconduct. Or judges can publicly reprimand them and bar them from jury service in the future. That could be something too. Listen, let's just say, again, let's just say, as in this case, that Diddy was acquitted. Later it's discovered the jurors were talking about the case in the bathroom during the trial or violating sequestrian rules. Well, I don't think they were sequestered, right? Or already planning to acquit him before even hearing all the evidence, which I think is very, very likely. That's terrible, but it is too late. Double jeopardy protects them and he walks. However, this gross misconduct, listen, this gross misconduct might be what the jury needs, what Diddy needs to actually appeal those guilty verdicts. And I find it odd that he went out on CNN and actually admitted this, okay? It's very troubling. It's very disturbing, but it is what it is. This is the guy right here. This is the guy that was thirsty in court. This is the guy that would look out, savoring every moment. For anybody to say he didn't want to be a juror, I think, given the evidence, it is a strong possibility that he lied and gamed the system to get on the jury. But what he actually, his big mouth actually revealed were, it sounds like, according to him, because they talked about Westmoreland's testimony, they talk about Mia's testimony, they talked about the credibility of Jane, they talked about the credibility of Cassie. That means that they were already deliberating and talking before they heard all the evidence, which is gross misconduct. And it also means that most of them had probably had their mind made up before the feds could even rest their case. Again, this is really, really bad. It's not helping us, but this idiot might have given Diddy the in to get to ask for an appeal based or a new trial based off of gross misconduct. Okay. Again, this is what they said. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. 1 second, y'all. Now, listen, this is also Matthew breaking it down. I want you guys to listen to this. Turn your volume up because this is very, very important.
The alternate juror in the U.S. versus Sean Combs trial, who spoke on CNN. He went forward. We covered him when during jury selection, he said he worked for the UN Office of Counterterrorism and that didn't work with U.S. law enforcement. We didn't think that was true. But after the verdict, he went on CNN and he called himself George. And here's one of the things that he said. Then we asked the UN about it.
The prosecution was showing more, just Cassie just sitting around.
The defense said that.
Yeah.
Wait, was
She's
it
just sitting around
prosecution?
not engaging in sexual activity.
Prosecution or defense?
Yes.
The prosecution, when you had to have your headphones on and otherwise,
Yeah.
what were you seeing then?
There was sexual activity, but I mean,
He went on to say it was pretty tame, actually. So we decided to ask the UN a few questions. So ask the UN a few questions. One, to confirm that George works at the Office of Counterterrorism, and a few other things that you can see there. This is while the context of this that the UN doesn't actually allow us in, but they did say they'll answer written questions. You see, this is the UN spokesman, Stefan Juror, and he was asked whether he'd be answering questions.
We've also answered Mr. Lee's question. We continue to answer the questions that he emails in, questions that he's asking.
So,
We've also answered Mr. Lee.
See, it's pretty straightforward. Here's George, UN Office of Counterterrorism, that's UNCT, and he's the contact, 201, well, you see it. Strange thing about that phone number is that it goes to a real estate. He's a real estate agent, but also he's working for the human rights at the United Nations. So we emailed, to make a long story short, we emailed Stefan Juror the questions that you see in the morning. He had time. He had a briefing, and here's what he did.
Good afternoon. Chris, just a warning, there is no money quiz today, so,
It's all about the money.
Tomorrow, 12:45, there'll be a joint press briefing here by Ambassador Atayeva, the permanent representative of Turkmenistan to the...
Great.
Okay. Speaking of due process...
Didn't answer any questions. Has still not answered, hours later, the questions submitted to him. He's paid quite a lot of money and lives on the Upper East Side in a penthouse. Maybe
I shouldn't even get paid for today.
real estate, that's true. real estate agent George is involved. So inner city press is applied to enter.
Okay, so to make a long story short, right? Thank you, Becky Brown, for joining the family. You are the newest member of the Titles House. So you guys, where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? There has been gross misconduct in the Sean Diddy Combs case. If this juror can be believed, and again, if you watch my coverage from the beginning, I was the first person, even among the major media, you can tell because we were on court together. I alerted them. They started running stories on it. This is true. Thank you very much. About what the jurors were doing, the way they seemed to be talking among themselves on the stand while they were watching the jury, the way they seemed to be too buddy-buddy, the way they mouthed them was like, I told you, Sheba, I told you, they're lying. Like they were literally on the on the defense's side. A lot of them, not a lot, all of them, but a good number of them seemed to be very, very, very already not in bed with the defense, because I don't want to imply that they were paid off or anything like those are serious legal charges. However, this juror is now saying on CNN, and they're saying to the world that they talked about Don's testimony. They talked about Mia's testimony. They talked about the Smex tapes. They talked about Jane's testimony, which would be normal, except for the fact that he is an alternate juror. And alternate jurors are not allowed back in the deliberation room. And the only time you were supposed to talk about the case at all is during deliberation. So if this happened, and I do believe it happened, why, when, where, how did they talk about this? They defied judge's orders. They defied the civil rules of procedure. And if you can believe this juror, and I do believe him, they had their minds made up from the beginning, which is how they decided a 7-8 week case in less than 12 hours. That is how, because they had already made their minds up. This goes to the heart of the jury, whether they wanted to get Diddy off. This goes to the heart of the jury about whether they even were listening to the victims. This idiot also said, I hope he gets the help he needs. Not the victims, but he works on the thing for human trafficking. And you are like, the hell with the victims. I hope Puff Daddy gets the help he needs. The help he needs is a slap in the face. He needs somebody to treat him the way he treated Cassie. And then we'll see if there is a God's divine law, he will actually feel what he put others through. But all jokes aside, right? All jokes aside, you guys, what do you think about this? I think this is very alarming, and I think this confirms everything we had to say. I have emailed the UN to even see, were you even supposed to be there? Did you lie about your job? And if you lied about the job, did the UN know that you lied about the job and you still somehow got on the jury? You work for the UN, but yet you're a real estate agent at night. You're a high-ranking level official for the UN, but you have a real estate agency. I don't even think you're allowed to moonlight because it's kind of like a conflict of interest. But at the very least, Jay Candy said, why aren't you covering Cassie's accuser, or don't you think he's a victim? Why am I not covering Cassie's accuser? I just did a video about Allie. Welcome to the Titles House family. First of all, I'm not going to hijack this about Cassie's accusers because I don't understand what that is. None of the escorts said that they were great. None of them. None of the escorts said they were great. Not one. Okay, this new guy that came out, I don't know what to think about that. He wrote a book. Here's the thing. I was going to cover this in a different live because I've been busy covering the Diddy trial, but none of the accusers said that Cassie raped them. Now that Diddy is part of the Mann Act. Oh, wait, that's not true. I think 2 people came out and said they felt like they were both victimized by Cassie and Diddy. We'll see what happens with that. I do have questions about how do you know that somebody was pregnant with your child? Like, was there a DNA test? And then aborted it. How do you know? Do you have any proof to back this up? A text, a thing? How do you know somebody was kept it hidden that they were pregnant with your child and then went and had an abortion? As a woman, here's what I know. You either know who got you pregnant or you don't. And if you don't know who got you pregnant, how are you going to know? Because we all agreed, and it was all said that Diddy would make Cassie do some strange things for some change with Smex workers, and then Diddy would go and have Smex with Cassie too. So I'll talk about this in a different video because I actually want to go over the lawsuit. A lot of these claims are barred. This guy was writing a book also saying that Cassie was a co-conspirator, and he wrote a book saying it was all consensual and it was a thing of power and control and this and that. Okay. I think he made an argument that if somebody has Smex with someone after when the God, it's so disgusting. Let's move on. I'll address this in a different live. I don't want to hijack the live with this, but I have questions. Again, how do you know that somebody not only secretly got pregnant with your child, but then aborted the child? And if they did, then how do you know they were secretly pregnant by you? I also find it dubious that someone who willingly, by his own words, has Smex without a condom and you are a prostitute, how you are then saying that Cassie burned you with something. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I don't know. I have to read the lawsuit. I don't know, because a victim is a victim is a victim. Men can be victims too. But just as a rule of thumb, there is a sex worker who knowingly is being paid to have Smex with someone who says they're not a victim and who feels very, they seem like they are a big Diddy fan. How are you blaming Cassie more than Diddy? And Diddy everybody agrees he was the orchestrator. And y'all couldn't do nothing without his permission. But even then, you were, I'll just say it, you were the hooker having knowingly and with consent. Remember when I said anything you want to do with consent is fine, but you were knowingly with consent having Smex with Cassie. And listen, I know people have been coming out after this guy for his looks. And he said, it doesn't matter how I look. It only matters what I look like in bed. I don't care about his looks. I do know that he seems to be allergic to chapstick. Remember when Kanye was walking around Rome and I said, you can tell one, Bianca don't give a damn about him and doesn't know anything about the culture, because any woman that cared about you would have told you, can you put some cocoa butter on your feet before you go walk outside? Because he was walking around ashy. Like it was looking like Jesus walking through the village with like a slutty Magdalene. You see what I'm saying? Right? And that's their look. That's what they were going for. That's what they were going for. Okay. But that's what they were going for. But the same way Ye's feet looked walking around Italy with no lotion is the way that man's lips look while he was telling me this. So I found it very hard to focus. But that said, I'm going to read through the lawsuit. I'm looking for any evidence besides what he says happened, any evidence, any people corroborating the evidence. Diddy can come out and corroborate the evidence. Also, this is the last thing I do want to say. If everything he's saying is true, then why didn't Diddy call him as a witness? If everything he's saying is true, Cassie secretly got pregnant by him, but then aborted the baby, but he somehow knows that's a baby, even though she was getting trains run on her. Okay, let's just say you knew, right? A woman knows. You somehow knew. If there was any proof of that, why didn't Diddy call him to the stand? He also said that he knows that Cassie burned him, but you're the hooker and you're the one that knowingly was being paid to perform without a rubber. So if you can be bought by her, can't you be bought by a lot of people? And if she did do that, then why didn't Diddy call you to the stand? He also said that Cassie, I believe he said that Cassie was like getting at him even when it wasn't like something like they might have had a full-on relationship and Cassie's not innocent and this and that. Again, Diddy had access to the same people that the prosecution did. Why didn't Diddy call him to the stand if what he's saying can be proven? Because I think Diddy would have. I don't know, right? TMZ is reporting that prosecution is only asking for 4 years. Have you heard anything? Also, can I get a Simon impersonation? Thank you, Cheryl. Marry me. Shout out to Simon Gabodia for getting out of ICE detention and actually being overseas. Shout out to him, because as much as we used to drag Simon, nobody deserves to be detained in ICE and nobody deserves to be treated like that. So shout out to him for finally getting out. I don't know why TMZ would know what prosecution is asking for. Why would prosecution only be asking for 2 years? That means Diddy's only going to serve 2 years. I don't know. Christian Strike said, this guy's nonchalant attitude and smirk while discussing the trial and sensitive details, he's given me more trust issues than my ex. Exactly. Okay. But if you guys want, I will discuss the lawsuit against Cassie, but I don't know how credible it is. I'm serious, because even if everything you're saying is true, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You know, I think he was also supposed to be having a book coming out. His PR people emailed me and asked that I want to have him on to cover the book. But the book was like a tense thing of lies, coercion. What was the book? I'll actually read the email on a different thing. Even the way the book was centered, it's not about, I'm pro-victim. But the way the book was centered and the way it was even pitched was like, seemed like there was no victims in it. He just wanted to expose that Cassie wasn't innocent and she liked it. Even in his book, he wasn't a victim. But again, now he's suing. And again, that may be his right. But I don't know. There were things that weren't adding up. Okay. But again, Marlene Marura said, hey, Tissa, love you. Kindly talk about Kenya. Yes, everybody, eyes on Kenya. People are dying. Our president literally gave a shoot to Merck order today. Help advocate for justice. We need to amplify this. Please, all eyes on Kenya. You guys, all eyes on Kenya, and especially if you're on TikTok, that's a great way to amplify things. Also, make sure you put in Kenya, what's going on in Kenya right now, and just like a few videos just to bring it up, right? Just to bring it up. Also, I don't even, listen, I'm going to read you what that guy's PR agent emailed me to try to get on the channel. This is after he said that I was harassing him because I mentioned that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll get into that, okay? Tori, thank you so much for the super chat. We'll get into all that. But yeah, I don't know. I really honestly had questions, but can we stay focused? Because I don't understand. We're literally trying to get a predator off the street. To my knowledge, Cassie has never done anything since leaving Diddy. So the fact that the manosphere is like, what about Cassie? Can we get the criminal in the jail first and then we can focus on anything else? But for right now, I do not think Cassie is an imminent threat. I do not think that people are saying, we're scared that Cassie's walking around. I do not think that people are writing the judge saying they fear for their lives. And I do not think that, like, there's a bunch of people outside the courtroom trying to jump on and beat up and harass women, okay? And again, I don't know where you grew up and what you're used to. Some people are used to grown people trying to fight you and you just laughing it off. I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up like that, and I will never accept that, baby. I grew up in genteel, polite society. I'm not with all that stuff at how many years old having to jump on people. So everybody is comfortable with a different amount of violence. I have a zero violence lifestyle. My man can't hit me. My friends can't hit me. People on the street can't try to fight me. And anytime I'm in a situation where there is even a threat of violence, like that, like, no, where I'm from, the violent person is the crazy one, okay? But my whole point is none of the shit that's coming with Diddy, a dangerous criminal, right, is coming from Cassie's style. Cassie ain't have another freak off since. Cassie ain't been with another male sex worker since. Cassie ain't doing nothing but being a mom to her 3 kids. So if you talk about who we should focus on. I think we should focus on the person that was actually beating up women, being violent, flying out escorts, having freak-offs, even while the federal government was watching you. Chris John Baptiste said, to be fair, Tissa, I do remember during Cassie's testimony, she acknowledged that she did bad things to people, and she mentioned Clayton Howard as one of them. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. But again, we will do, oh, thank you, Carla, for the Cash App. Listen, that is fine. Nobody's saying Cassie's an angel, but can we stay focused? Diddy has not even been convicted. Diddy has not been convicted. Maybe there are things that Cassie has to answer for and things she has to atone for. That is fine. That is fine. But to actually now change the subject when this monster hasn't even been on jail, Diddy is hoping we turn the subject and look at, listen, Tina Marie said he's probably just mad he wasn't a favor on Smash or Pass. Y'all, if you don't know, we did a Smash or Pass Diddy Escort edition. He wasn't even on the list, though, because I already know y'all would have tore him up. Y'all was being vicious. I already know y'all would have tore himself up. I just would have been like, but where's the Bliss Tax? Where's the Carmex? Your lips look like Kanye's feet. And again, as someone that always has lip gloss and just sensory overload, I cannot stand my lips being dry. I can't stand them being chapped. It's like nails. And also to see somebody else's lips dry or chapped, my body, it's raking through. So you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I have to check to see if Cassie mentioned Clayton Howard. That might be true. I have to go and review the transcripts, which you guys helped me by. But my point is this. You guys, we have to stay focused. Or the very thing, we can do two things at once, okay? We can look into the Cassie lawsuit, which the way this guy approached me and what he said, and I'm going to read the emails I got, I don't know, right? But we're going to give that lawsuit, if it's not dismissed, because I looked through the lawsuit, there's a lot. When I say I looked through, the jurisdiction was wrong. He was bringing up things that were expired by statute of limitations. I don't even know if this lawsuit is going to actually get there. I do know that it is my belief that Diddy's team are sending out a bunch of actors in bad faith to turn it over to Cassie, to let everyone know if you want to get money, go to Cassie, even though Diddy's the easiest one, because Diddy, under the Mann Act, it's even easier for Jane and all the escorts to get millions from Diddy. They want to turn the spotlight on Cassie and change the subject from Cassie. That's what they want to do. And no, we can talk about Cassie in a minute. But for right now, we are talking about Diddy because Diddy is not sentenced. Diddy's not sentenced. Diddy's not sentenced. And the more we stop talking about Diddy, because I know the game, I've seen there, I always clock Diddy's T. That's how I've been so good at estimating what their next move is. From the beginning, y'all, some people are new to this, and y'all think I just got here on the Diddy trial. I've been had 500K subscribers before Diddy's trial. I've been on Diddy's trial for 2 years. I was the first one to even find out the Jonathan Oddie mess. I've been on Diddy's ass. I've been clocking Diddy's T. I'm telling you, this is what I think is going on. They want us to change this conversation so we stop talking about him and they can start their PR feel-good thing. Diddy's going to be, well, he can't save kittens and whatever, but they're going to be giving this. They're going to have, Diddy changed my life. They're going to have all these feel-good things about Diddy. And that way they're hoping the judge will give the minimal sentence. Now, TMZ saying prosecution is only asking for 4 years. If they are, I think that is a shame and a scandal. I think it disrespects, if it's true, and I hope to God it's not, I think it disrespects what the witnesses went through. Cassie could have just been chilling there with her $30 million. She didn't have to get on the stand and testify. She had her money. She did it because she decided she wasn't going to be a victim anymore. And I think that's what people forget. She did not have to say a word. She could have took that 30 million. She didn't even have to report this to the government. She could have took that 30 million and she could have coasted off into the sunset. She didn't have to report this. She didn't have to say anything. Nobody would have known. The escorts wouldn't have known. It would have been the same thing, and she wouldn't have had all these problems. The fact that she came out and said something is because she wanted there to be justice done. All the people that came out and were subpoenaed, they could have said no. Gina said no. Look what happened. They could have said no. These people opened themselves up. They humiliate themselves. And for the prosecution, if it's true, because it is coming from TMZ, and TMZ is very, very pro Diddy, okay? But if it is true, that would be a slap in the face to all witnesses. And I think it would have a chilling effect for anybody that had something with sexual assault, men or women. I do want to say this. If you are a man or a woman and you are a survivor of SA, if you are a survivor of DV, stop giving these mofos any type of breath. We only have each other. From now on, somebody attacks you, dig into their skin, go to the hospital, make them take fragments of their skin from under your nails and keep. If you don't want to go to the hospital, put those fragments in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. It preserves DNA. Take the underwear you were wearing, put it in the freezer. It preserves DNA. If you go to the hospital, demand that they take samples of that and hold it, and samples and your underwear, and take swabs from your underwear. And then even after that, get your underwear back, because just like the ballistics, things go missing. With the Kid Cudi fingerprint cards for his break-in, things go missing. Take those underwear home, put it in your freezer. In a Ziploc bag, it preserves DNA. The clothes you were wearing, put them in a giant Ziploc bag, preserve that DNA. If you don't want to go, take your own samplings. Next time somebody punches you in the face, next time somebody leaves bruises on you, next time somebody does something when they're crashing out, press record, either video or audio. Take pictures of everything they've done to you. It's not going to change anything. They're going to keep hurting you until you are ready to leave. Send that mess to their mother, their brother, their father, their sister. Send that mess to the work group chat. Document it. Even if you don't want to do that, start keeping diary entries. He did this to me. Start keeping a diary. He did this to me. She did this to me. Because men can be victims too. And it carries probably even more shame than a woman, right? But keep diaries, keep journal entries, because diaries can be tested to see how old they are. They can do the same thing they do on not hieroglyphics, but ancient texts. They can literally run a test and see how old the ink is based off of the oxidization on the paper. Write out everything that happens in real time. Send text messages. I can't believe you did this to me. I can't believe you did this to me 2 hours ago. How dare you? This is the 6th time you've done this to me. I'm not letting this go anymore. Send pictures. Look what you did to me. Add their mama in on group chat. Add their best friend in on group chat. Send that shit. Start making a list. Because a lot of victims don't say up because don't say anything because they have this weird guilt about, no, I don't want to make anybody else feel uncomfortable. I don't want to do this. Oh, they're good. No, the jury has showed that they don't care, right? They don't care about victims of abuse. You only have yourself. Your boss walks by you, looks at your chest, rubs by and rub your booty. Document it. Send an email. I did not appreciate you rubbing my booty. And then go to HR and be like, they rubbed my booty. Start documenting everything. Start documenting everything. They want a world where, oh, how come you didn't say anything? Baby, Kathy Volge, thank you so much. I love you too. And Carla, thank you. Don't apologize. This is right on time. Thank you, Carla. They want a life where, oh, how come you didn't say anything? Let's start speaking up. Watch the way it's just flooded. Let's start speaking up. And again, you, by doing this, your current self, right? You are literally protecting your future self. Your future self. Go ahead and send that text message. Even if they delete it, who cares? You have it. Your future self is going to go back and hug the you that was getting beaten, abused, disrespectful. And for whatever reason, you didn't have the strength to protect yourself. It is literally putting a down payment saying, I know I don't have the strength to protect myself now, but please know, future self, the future self is going to come back and hug you for it and say, thank you. Thank you that even in hell, in the middle of a war for yourself, thank you for looking out for us. And thank you for planting the seeds so that we can fight like hell now and make everybody responsible for what they did to us. Again, you are investing in your future. Start making everybody uncomfortable. Start letting these mothers know what their sons did. Start letting what the bosses know, what their brothers know, what their start letting these people know. Because you want to be an abuser? Fine. Everybody's going to know who you are and what you are. And don't worry about them talking, because they're going to talk anyway. They just want you to shut up because they don't want your fantasy. They don't want their fantasy disrupted of who they think they're friends with, who they think they're related with, and who they worked with. Okay. Once more, but I hear you, Tina Marie. He's probably just mad he wasn't a favor on Smash or Pass. Marlene Maruru said, thank you, Tissa. You guys, all eyes on Kenya right now. We need to do more than talk about Kenya. Tweet about it. Amplify, y'all. It's a call for justice. Again, if you don't want to tweet about it, one of the best ways to amplify is to either repost, like, or save post about that on TikTok. It will start trending. Royal Asia, welcome to the family. Royal 77 said, in that complete order, thank you for being a member for 9 months. And Spit and Fire said, how about just leave? Don't come back, and don't come back, not even for money. See y'all, ladies, Spit and Fire. This is why y'all need to protect yourselves, because of fucking ignorant comments like this. Spit and Fire, how about just leave? I don't understand. Do y'all think that people like being hit? Even on a base level, when y'all got spankings, did y'all like it? When you were in high school and you maybe got your ass beat, or maybe grade school, did you like it? When somebody laid hands on you, even somebody you love, did you like it? It's ignorant to actually think they don't leave because they can't. The same way in abuse. Anyway, I'm not explaining this. Go read something about DA, right? How about just leave and don't come back? Eventually, one day that does happen. They either leave out their 2 feet or they leave in a casket. Okay. But it's never about, how about what the people don't hit them? That's acceptable, right? Spit and Fire. We can hit people. We can beat people up. It's the victim's job to keep themselves safe. And don't come back, not even for money. Y'all, you know I've never been on. Run those MF pockets up. Run it up, run it up, run it up, run it up. If you guys are new to my channel, you don't know me. Run it up. Run through those pockets, because at the end of the day, they don't value you. They don't value your money. They don't value your love. All they value is their power, their money, and their respect. Most of the people beating on women don't even have any respect. Even it goes to the highest echelon. Most people don't even have the respect. But even their money, even if they only got 2 nickels, grab both of them and tell them to go sit outside on a dirt road and eat dirt for all you care. Run their pockets up. Stop telling people. Diddy did all this so he could protect his money. The one thing that the rich care about more than anything is their money. And it is such gaslighting. They convinced us, the working, right? The working class, that they convinced us that if you're truly noble, you'll leave money out of it. Did Diddy leave money out of it with Diego? With his thing? Oh, no, because that was different, right? Right. That was different. That was business. But your body is worth less than Diddy's Ciroc deal, right? There's not a person with money on this world that leaves a penny on the floor. You better realize the way this world works. If you want to hurt somebody, go for their money and run their pockets up. Run their pockets up. Their friends want to talk trash. They want to be like Spit and Fire and don't come back, not even for money. Put the money up against your head and be like, I can't hear you. My money's too long. Eve Loves God said, to those that like victim blaming, please educate yourself on human trafficking, Stockholm Syndrome, learn helplessness, consent, and grooming. The perpetrator is the only one to blame. I agree with you, but Eve's Love, I realized in Diddy's trial, even with the jurors and the male identified women and like the losers, they know. They are committed to staying willfully ignorant. They know they want to stay willfully ignorant. Again, even the Spit and Fire said, don't come back, not even for money. Why are you worried that an abuser is going to lose their money? Do you see yourself? Do you think your money's threatened somehow? I'm very confused. Jennifer A. Dryson said, Tissa, woo, 7.8 watching, woohoo. You guys, I'm going to start doing more morning lives because I actually like doing morning lives with you guys in the trial. And now that I'm back out by my pool, I think we might start doing morning lives, even if we talk about Diddy or fun stuff. Rain K 2008 said, funny beauty of intelligence. Thank you for your hard work. I know that's right. We got the FBI. And guys, don't forget, if you want to also support, We have merch. Don't ask why. I left this in my friend's car and the straw wasn't in there anymore. But then I wonder if they took the straw because they're always losing their straw. So I wonder if they took the straw out of mine for their Stanley Cup. Anyway, y'all, we have plenty of stuff. This also holds hot and cold. I usually drink tea out of this. It is a hot and cold thermos, but we have tote bags, we have notebooks, we have everything that actually suits you. Thank you so much, you guys. So listen, you guys, listen. At the end of the day, don't let up. Don't stop talking about Diddy. Don't stop saying what a monster he is. Why? Because the sentencing and the parole people are 100% listening. Don't let Diddy run up. Oh, also really quick, I just need to read y'all. Oh, okay, thank you. Also, Marie Bonamount said, no, Cassie said she has shame. Thank you. Cassie said she has shame for being introduced to a lifestyle using people as disposable. She said she's carried shame that should be Diddy's. I have the transcript. Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Marie. Lori, welcome to the Title Tells family. And I choose Joy Carlotta. What's up? Said Diddler when Jane hit him, didn't just leave. Exactly. Diddy destroyed Jay. Again, I'm not even arguing with these idiots anymore. If you think you should just leave, I pray to God that you, because men experience abuse too, your moms, your sisters, your daughters, I pray to God they never encounter anybody like Diddy. I pray they never encounter the men like Diddy supporters. And I pray to God that if they do, I pray to God you do more for them than sit back and say that's your own fault. Why don't you leave? And if you leave, you can't get justice. I pray to God that you leave those ignorant thoughts and literally stand by the women and men in your life that actually need your help. There's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with that. Miss Mona, welcome to the Tattletale crew. And All L, thank you for gifting a membership. Thank you for gifting a membership. I do want to say that at the end of the day, it is what it is. And there's always going to be like ignorant people around. And by ignorant, dumb. And when I say dumb, I want everyone to know I'm not talking about someone's intelligence. Not knowing something, being curious, that is not being dumb. That is being curious. That's not it. Dumb is when people are committed to misunderstanding. They're committed to pushing out all evidence to the contrary, be it science, be it real world examples, be it knowledge that scholars have gained. They push all that aside so they can hold on to some fantasy of what they think things should be. Again, they're not living in reality. It makes me wonder, why are you tied, right? Why are you tied to protecting a wealthy person's money or protecting a wealthy person's image unless you somehow think on a lesser level that you're actually protecting yourself or the people that you love Anyway, you guys, listen, I just know that it is what it is. Wanted to say that we'll see what needs to be done. But in the meantime, I also do just want to say quickly, Oh, Monegasque 255 said Trump administration is now denying the existence of the Epstein client list. His biggest supporters are pissed. DOJ looks bad. Hope they use Diddy to clean it up. Listen, Kate 420. Oh, that would be good. So again, if they are mad, because here's the thing, they told us the Epstein list existed. We saw the Epstein list last year. We saw the flight log. We know it existed. They already leaked part of it. And now they're saying there's no Epstein list at all. Okay, fine, right? They also told us that Diddy didn't commit sex trafficking when we saw him dragging Cassie back to a free call. We saw him on tape and they told us, no, that's not what it is. What is it? Monegasque. Am I saying it right? Monegasque? I don't know. 255, I hope I'm pronouncing it somewhat correctly, is making an interesting point. Trump administration is denying the existence of the Epstein client list. His supporters are pissed, the biggest ones. They're saying that right now the DOJ looks very bad, so they hope they use Diddy as a sacrificial lamb to clean it up and to change the conversation. Kate 420, welcome to the Tattletales family. Also, Yvette Valentine's, thank you. Listen, oh, your mom for 2 or 3 weeks has said they love me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yvette. Mama Yvette's mama. Thank you so much. Also, Finding Your 40. Thank you for gifting 10 memberships. I appreciate you. Oh, so much. Okay. So anyway, you guys, listen, let me get out of here. I know I've been saying it all week, but I think I'm finally in work mode. I'm not going to go back on the poll. I'm going to make a few other videos. Let me just throw some makeup on, but there is a lot to talk about. All right. In any case, am I forgetting anybody? Really quick, is there anything else I'm forgetting? I don't think there's anything else I'm forgetting. And you guys, just remember, Lori, welcome to the family. Miss Mona, welcome to the family. I will say this, you guys, start reporting, start documenting, start sending text messages, start keeping diaries, start keeping nail clippings, start going to the hospital and having them take the DNA from underneath your fingernails. Start doing everything you can to amass evidence, because at the end of the day, we only have each other. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.